1. A couple walks in and seats themselves in my section. My section is by the bar counter, which is open seating. So people often confuse the booths to be open seating as well, which people will literally seat themselves sometimes at, even if the table is clearly dirty. To which we would inform them about our seating and either have them sit at the bar or go to the host stand to be seated. Usually I would go about this routine, but the man has a veteran hat on and is visibly disabled, and I have a very soft spot for military, so bending the rules a bit is the least I could do. I get their orders and get them situated the best I could, as I had nearly a full section. As one of my other tables pays, they hand me some extra cash, asking me to put it toward this table's check, so I figure, what a very kind thing to do. I check back after this couple gets their entrees and bring them a few boxes. To which I drop off their check and inform them that someone has covered a portion of their check, thank the gentleman profusely for his service, and wait for them to put a card or cash with the check. I figure all is well. Wrong. After a little bit, I check back as they're writing an entire mathematical formula on the back of the check, and she checks back with me, asking my method of applying the cash to their check. To which I simply inform them that I rang in their drinks and food and, prior to printing and handing them their check, applying a cash payment. This did not sit well with the lady, who promptly went all, "I know a better method," and went on to propose her own method that I really didn't have 10 minutes to listen to, as I had my other tables to attend to, and honestly, everything she was saying was going in one ear and out the other, and nothing was really making sense. She asks for a manager, who then takes my place of listening to her ramble for 10 minutes as I catch up on my other tables. After he gets done talking to them, he comes to me with the most worn-out expression on his face, and dumbs down what they said for me. Basically, her method involved taking the cash off the subtotal, manipulating the sales tax calculated after. If that's confusing anybody, it's okay. Basically, all there is to know is that I'd be committing a felony. He goes on to explain to them that is in fact illegal for me to do so. I check back with them as they hand me their credit card slip, no tip, shocker, as I go to my new table's drinks. They get up to leave as she spews a bunch of nonsense about how she felt very disrespected by my manager, and how she can't believe people like me and him work here. I'm honestly done at this point and just tell her to have a nice day. As I bring the new table's drinks and go on to take her order, I receive a nice aggressive tap on the shoulder, to which I promptly lose my cool and tell her not to touch me in a not-so-kind manner. I feel bad for cursing in front of my tables, and I have a pretty thick skin when it comes to dealing with rude customers, but touching me in any way, especially like she just did, will always cross the line. She requests info of managers in corporate, which I give her, and they finally go on their way. I apologize for my tables having to see that, but they seemed understanding and even left rather generous tips, so it seems like it pays to be physically assaulted. To be honest though, if I knew she was going to draw this out like she did, I would have just kept that money for myself and saved everyone a headache. I suppose that's what I get for being in on a nice gesture. 2. So we own a small Italian family restaurant, also family-owned. We have pretty good reviews on Google, which does attract new customers, which is great on one hand, but I also see another phenomenon. People apparently coming in and trying to find the fault. It almost feels like it's encouraging some people to come in and fuck with you, and I'm so fed up with it. Last night I get 2 new customers, an older couple. The husband is talking like a book, wife is already over it. I can tell, and I'm friendly as usual. They let me know Google reviews brought them here. I reply that's great to hear. They sit on the patio, and there's just one other table outside, who arrived 30 minutes before them. Rest of my customers sitting inside. It takes them a while to order. Fine, it's their first time, and shortly after they did, I bring out the other table's order. Restaurant is getting fuller. Most tables ordered entrees, and they're getting them by now. The ones outside, however, didn't. Suddenly, the man jumps up, stands in the door, and yells, "Hey, are we still getting food here?" I'm taken aback. Maybe 15 minutes have passed since they ordered, which isn't long for freshly made food. So I get over and try to explain to him. Their food is made just the moment we're talking, and we cook everything fresh here. So you need a bit of patience until your food comes out. He's like, oh yeah, sure, makes sense. Maybe 5 minutes later I bring out their food, and after I clear their plates, shit's going down. Both start arguing with me about how this was an unacceptable wait time. I'm still confused by that, because it simply was not a long wait time, and I stand by it. I refuse to apologize in cases like that lately, because I think it's ridiculous to expect to be served the second you sit down and have fresh food, and apologizing would only give them right. Also, everyone knows restaurants are struggling immensely with finding staff around here, and I just don't feel like encouraging this entitlement of old fucks. They go about how they're sitting there hungry. Oh wow, never heard that one before, and it's just unacceptable to wait. And he is sure half an hour has passed since he arrived until he got his food? So now you also want to blame me for how long it took you to order. I'm completely over it at this point. They want their bill, and I'm happy to do that, and there it goes. We will write a review! Yep, I was expecting that. Not that I really worry, but it's this kind of thing that's starting to make me hate this. And it's happening far too often. People will call and they expect to be able to pick up a pizza in 10 minutes, then get super mad when they get told they can pick it up in 30 minutes. A few weeks ago, someone was so rude I literally said, "Sir, this is not fast food. You will have to wait for your food." But she couldn't even understand. I have a teenager helping me serve, and obviously I tell her when there's complaints to call me over, and she put it so sweet and simple. But why would they want you to apologize if you didn't do a mistake? Isn't it just normal that cooking stuff takes time? Yes, I know, sweetie. 3. This story happened a few months ago at a restaurant known for its lobsters and cheesy biscuits. Basically, the town this particular location was in happened to be a college town. It was a day of the college's St. Patrick's Day bar crawl, and, although I attend the college, I opted to work that day. I happened to get the opening shift and pulled up to the restaurant at around 10:30 a.m., getting ready for an 11 a.m. opening. The shift went fine until around 1 p.m. they asked me if I wanted to work a double. I knew it wouldn't be too busy since we were located a bit of a drive away from the college, and the bars and restaurants most people would end up at, so I didn't argue about it and figured I'd get out early. My mistake. Around 8 p.m., they posted the cut list and who the closers were. I was listed as a closer, and on this particular day we closed at 11 p.m. I'm not against an open and close shift, but it was just the fact it was never communicated to me at all, and I did not agree to work a 12.5-hour plus shift when I agreed to a double. So, I went to the serving manager and asked her if the list was correct. She confirmed it was. I reminded her that I was the opening server, and she decided to take it up with the GM in my defense. The GM basically said I was closing because he wanted me to, and made no changes to the list. The GM was known for being a huge asshole. I've posted a few stories about him on my old Reddit account, but just because of who he was, I was more upset. Additionally, the server who was always a closer was there and was not one. He heard me complaining to my friend about having to close and offered to close in my place. Love him generally, but that did make me happy since everyone who wasn't on a double gave fake sympathy and left before me. Cut to around 10 p.m. It's me, the 2 closers, and 1 other waitress. All the other servers had gone, and of course, a 12-top walked in. It's policy that 8+ tops are split between 2 servers, and guess who the GM gave it to? Me and the other non-closer. At this point I was fuming because I knew he was being spiteful, and that's not speculation. The 12-top had a side room to themselves, were extremely rude, sitting at all different tables just because no one else was in the room, talking over each other and clearly intoxicated. My final straw came when I was literally failing at taking a drink order because no one was paying attention to me, and one of the party members decided to pick me up to move me out of his way. His words, "Sorry bro, gotta get by," as my feet lifted off the ground. I stopped talking, closed my book, and walked out of the room shaking and on the verge of tears. I ended up scream-ranting to my friend, who was one of the closers. I'm a tough guy to get to, and always can kill with kindness. But everything on top of each other was too much for me, and I remember screaming, "Don't fucking touch me!" at my friend as I ranted. The manager, who tried to defend me about not closing, just acted surprised when I told her what happened, and she said nothing about it. I essentially abandoned the table and let the other waitress take the entire tip. Can't remember what the bill was, but they got loads of drinks and the food was expensive. I remember they left her $10 and a huge mess that I did help her clean. Ended up clocking out around 11:30 p.m. and walked out with the closers. It was the closest I had ever come to walking out, and I would have, if I didn't absolutely need the job. 4. I have been a server at a casual, sports-themed, family-friendly bar and grill for about 4 years, and have had maybe 2 or 3 negative interactions with customers in that entire time. Usually, when things go wrong, I am able to diffuse the situation pretty easily. We're open seating, no host, so it's common that everyone will come in at once. We're situated above 2 hockey rinks, where there are often youth tournaments. Today, this family of 6 came in for lunch. They sat down while I was getting waters for an 11-top and a 4-top that sat down maybe 5 minutes before them. I greeted them while dropping off waters, and they had to wait another few minutes for me to grab their drink orders. From the beginning, the 2 young children were being unruly, to the point where the parents warned me that if I didn't give them cups with lids, they would deliberately pour them on the floor. Great parenting, right? So I get their drinks followed by their food. They ordered more than could fit on one tray, so the food runner had to go back to the kitchen for the woman's wedge salad. I bring it out to her and make sure everything looks good. I check on them a few minutes later, and they say all is good. Then they pull the food runner aside and tell her there's too much blue cheese dressing on the salad. This is where things get cloudy. According to the food runner, when she asked the woman if she wanted anything else, she grabbed the menu and pointed at the Greek salad. I had the runner get a Greek salad going and remove the wedge from the bill. We got the Greek salad out and everything seemed fine. The family is pretty rude the whole time, like not even looking up or turning toward me when I attempt to check on them. I knew the most I'd get from them was 10% based on their overall attitude, so I really didn't think much of it. Then it comes time for the bill. The woman used a coupon for a free appetizer, then makes a point to say that she shouldn't be charged for her salad. I kindly responded that of course we removed the wedge, since she didn't like it. She goes off about how the food runner told her it would be free, and she was so turned off by the amount of dressing on her first salad that she didn't even want anything, and the only reason she ordered a replacement is because it was free. Mind you, she ate the whole thing. I spoke with my manager, and he said to comp it since there was some confusion. When I dropped off the check, I let her know that we took care of it, but that in future she would be charged for anything she orders and eats. She starts yelling about the terrible customer service, telling me that she's a server, that she would never treat someone like that. After I literally gave her what she wanted, she then has her husband cross off his $5 tip. The bill was $65 after she got a free appetizer, and that salad comped. What a fucking nightmare. People trying to cheat the system piss me off. 5. It was right before the pandemic, and I was working at Red Lobster a few days a week for extra money. It was a particularly slow lunch shift, and us servers sat around talking. Or I should say, they were chatting, and I just stood nearby listening. I'm quite introverted, and don't usually contribute much to conversations. especially when those conversations amount to little more than bitching about various co-workers and customers. I will never understand why it seems like restaurant workers tend to gossip more than teenage girls in high school, but I digress. I was happy to see someone walk in the front door. Please give me something to do so that this never-ending shift goes by a bit quicker, I thought to myself. The man that walked through the doors is not the type you generally see walk into a moderately priced establishment such as this. Not that the Red Lobster is the epitome of class or anything. We definitely got all types, especially during the season of eat shrimp till you puke. The man looked more like the type of guy you see sitting outside of your local Waffle House, asking for change for leftovers. He wore dirty clothes with unkempt greasy hair on his head and face. On his back was an overstuffed backpack that had most certainly seen better days. Before he could get more than 3 feet in the door, the other servers were already talking about this man. He probably just wants to get a glass of water, says one, followed by, or to ask if we have any food that we're going to throw out, from another. Even if he does want to order something, he's going to want to eat it here, and there's no way he's going to tip, continued the first. It's all right, I'll happily take care of him, I say, interrupting the distasteful conversation. Your loss. If you want to pay a tip out and take a loss to go serve him, go for it. But I'd tell him to leave if it were me, says the one waitress I'm certain isn't happy unless she has anything to complain about. I happily walk away from the servers and approach the man. Although he was grimy looking, he had a big smile on his face and didn't smell bad. How can I help you today? I ask with a genuine smile on my face. Just me today? I'd like to order some dinner, please, said the man in a pleasant but slightly gritty-sounding voice. Absolutely, follow me this way, I say while leading him to a booth. I got him set up with a menu and drink and returned to grab his order. I have to say, when he ordered the Maine lobster, I was a bit surprised, but tried not to let it show in my face. Given that the live lobsters cost no less than $30, I really hadn't expected such an expensive order from the man, thinking instead he'd most likely order off the cheaper lunch menu. This made me realize that even though I was a bit offended by my co-worker's reaction to this customer, I had made judgments of my own. I chastised myself for this, and went to put in his order. As I was fishing his lobster from the tank that we kept in the lobby, the man walked up behind me and asked if he could add a second live lobster to go to his order. I answered in the affirmative, and grabbed 2 of the unlucky crustaceans to take back to the chefs. When the other waitresses saw me bringing back 2 of the red pinching beauties to the kitchen, they pounced on me. I'd watch him if I were you. He's probably going to try to run out on the check. I'd ask for payment up front. He looks homeless. No way he can pay for that. I don't know why you're even wasting your time with him. I just smiled pleasantly and ignored them, not wanting to say anything to either agree or disagree with their words. I'll admit here at this point I was a little concerned with his ability to pay myself. I was not, however, about to let them know that. I was unwilling to treat the man poorly simply due to his appearance. His meals were cooked and served, with one of the lobsters being consumed at the table rather quickly. Not so hastily that he seemed to be starving, but definitely quicker than most get through a somewhat difficult-to-eat meal. After being turned down for dessert, I got his check together and presented him with it. I can't recall the exact price, but it was somewhere in the $70 range. Without hesitation, he pulled out a card and his ID out of his pocket. I wouldn't have asked him for the ID, but he must have had to deal with theft accusations before, and that saddened me. Getting to the computer, the same always complaining co-worker walked to me and quietly said, I'll grab the manager while you watch him if that card declines. I gave her a disapproving glance as I slid the card through the reader. It approves, and I just walk away from her without comment. Dropping the receipt at the man's table, I thank him for coming in and wish him a good evening. He thanks me warmly while filling out the needed information. He gets up, grabbing his to-go bag and backpack while I give him his space. Once he's gone, I go to clear the table and realize he had left me an almost $40 tip. With a huge smile, I clean his table and return to the server station to happily show my dumbfounded fellow servers the large tip. On this slow lunch day, I ended up making more money off this one table than the others made off all their tables combined. This, of course, only made them bitch and complain even more, but I didn't care. At the end of the shift, we were retelling the story to the other servers coming in for the dinner shift. Looking to me for comment, I said simply, "You shouldn't judge a book by its cover," and walked away. No matter how a person looks, you cannot nor should you judge their ability to pay. I had already tried to live and wait tables by that motto, but this had confirmed that belief for me. Stereotypes do exist for a reason, but if you refuse to serve or badly serve the people you think aren't going to tip you, you only manifest that reality for yourself. Give the best service you can to all patrons. Take the good with the bad and don't let it affect your attitude, because in my experience, people will more often impress rather than disappoint you. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Spinning Plates, episode 218. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do poke the like button. If you'd like to get the videos a little bit earlier, you can support the channel, and me, for as little or as much as you like through Patreon. The link is in the description. You can also find the link to the Hellfreezer merchandise store to get yourself some awesome Hellfreezer merch. If I do say so myself, it's pretty dang awesome. And if you'd like, on a one-off basis, you can make donations through streams and videos like this one. This is not required, but I do appreciate it. Alright, let's see. No other business today, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, what is one food stuff you eat that you know is just bad for you because it's loaded up with salt and other not so good stuff, but you usually will come back to it? You think, okay, I shouldn't eat that, it's not good for me, I'm not going to eat that. But every now and again you think, oh, what the hell, I've been good, and then you grab a whatever. Mine is... basically, it's the Kraft macaroni and cheese, or the equivalent of it. I don't always have to buy the brand one because some of the knockoffs are nearly identical, and it's just not good for you. It's just not, plain and simple. But it's filling, and although it has this very odd artificial taste, it's like a satisfying artificial taste. It's hard to explain what it does to the brain, but I like it. And I will often have 2 packets at a time. That's why I don't have it constantly. I have a big plate piled up with it, and then usually some kind of fruit juice. Oddly, cranberry juice goes oddly well with it. And I'm giving myself a craving now. I'm probably going to have to pick up a couple of packets when I'm out next. So let me know some of the foods that you love to eat, you know you shouldn't eat. You try not to, but invariably find yourself cracking and thinking, oh, why not just this one? Please pop your answers in a comment below. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.